Warning, the following broadcast contains strong opinions, playful antics, and controversial topics causing off-the-rails fun. Chances for being offended are higher than average for sensitive people. Viewer discretion is not advised. Live a little and have some fun.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Coach's Box. It's just the three amigos right now. We all work at Pius, but we're all... It's right. Hey, the other guys, they got other things to do, you know. Jarvis is trying to be like, a good former coach of one of his players, and Jim's big timing us. So just us little people here now.
Hashtag big time.
Hashtag big time. So... Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Hey, we're doing well. Are we hungover from all the sugar? I mean,
nope, not hungover. Still on it.
Oh, it's still going around.
Never had any of it.
Buzz, man.
None of it?
None. Didn't eat any. Nope.
Man,
no.
Shame on you.
I'm trying to lose my jowls. Okay, so I'm not eating sugar.
Oh, you put those in there. It's like Ron White. Put those in there. You wake up
like a squirrel.
It's gonna be a great day
for later.
No, absolutely not. I'm probably just like trying to make sure that I don't just kill overtired right now because all these early practices I'm having right now, Zach, for basketball because it's basketball season. Woo! Yeah, that's right. Getting excited for it. Now I need to go lay down because I'm tired. I got to get up early.
That's why Jarvis isn't here right now. He's working on the flex so he can beat you.
Oh, well, Flex, man.
Flex. Yes.
It's fun stuff. I love the flex.
Stay at home.
It's all right. Hey, take away that flex cut. We're gonna shoot there at the elbow. It's all good, man. It's good stuff. I like it.
Pack everybody into the lane.
Yep. You know what?
Suck it from the cheap seats all day long.
I mean, it worked in Hoosiers, but they didn't have a 3-point line back then.
Yeah, well.
Just throwing it out there.
I guess, hey, speaking of Hoosiers, I mean, we can broach the subject right away. Breaking news that came in, I guess, an hour, we'll call it 2 hours ago. Bobby Knight passed away. Man, that's sad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, growing up and watching Indiana basketball, my dad was a big Bobby Knight fan. Still says that Bobby Knight teaches man-to-man defense better than anybody he ever. Especially the fact that his teams were always fundamental. His teams were obviously his players could take coaching, and that's very obvious with his demeanor. But one of the things I think is probably overlooked from how great Bobby Knight was is that how high of a graduation rate that his programs had. When they finished up, I mean, kids finished school, and it was tough, but those guys turn around and they go out and they have successful careers past basketball because they played for Bob Knight.
One of my favorite things I ever saw Bob Knight do was that ESPN show he had when he was at Texas Tech, where they had all the walk-ons try out, and you really got to see a different side of. It was the TV side, maybe, I don't know, but it was a different side of Bobby Knight that was just kind of the hard Bobby Knight, and then you got to see the softer portions of him as well.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, one of my favorite ones was, as head coaches, we try and get as many resources as we can, and I picked up one of his DVDs, and this has been several years ago, and so he's trying to teach different press breaks, different presses. Again, Chris, talk about man to man. And, anybody knows you go to a clinic it's not his guys. It's just a random college.
Right.
It's a random college team that's there. And I mean, he was just going off on these kids. It's on the DVD that you bought, and it was pretty funny. That was a pretty good memory.
Is this the outtakes? Nope, this is the actual.
No, this is Bob Knight. One of the things that and everybody sees that side. Everybody remembers, the throwing the chair and the
all the media,
the press conferences. Things like
Nick
that.
Nolte from Blue Chips.
Yes, I mean that's basically Nick Nolte's character in a nutshell, a little bit, and how he acted. But like my former boss, the late Coach Keeling, who coached out of Grandview and was principal at Grandview and in Eminence High School, he actually got to know Bobby Knight really, really well. Coach Knight would come to his house and hunt. He'd go to his house and hunt in Indiana. And they became really good friends. And he just told me, he's like, nobody sees that side of it. Everybody thinks about this really hard, tough guy. I mean, obviously having a military background. And that's how you coach. You get on the basketball court, and it's like the fun and games are all off. We've got a job to do. And I think sometimes, you look at kids don't understand that part of it. It's like, guys, this is important. We're out here. We're here for a reason. And we got things to do. And there was no messing around. It didn't matter if you were a player. It didn't matter if you want to Coach Knight's assistant coaches. If he would rake you over the coals, Zach, if you think I'm bad at how I am with assistant coaches.
You were never bad.
Oh, no, and I always kept that in the back of my mind. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be that guy, because I've worked for some dandy head coaches who are really good, but also had some a little bit of tempers, and I'm like, I don't know if I could work for Bob Knight. But at the same time, I mean, those guys turned around, and they became very successful themselves too. So it is a sad day in the basketball world, especially to start a basketball season, to lose such an important piece to our sport.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And, I mean, we can't not talk about kind of how his tenure at Indiana finished and how he went from there to Texas Tech and all of that. And I mean, it's going to be, I think, probably a complicated legacy that he leaves, because, I mean, you talk about the perfect season, or at least the last perfect season, the national titles, again, how he dealt with the media and all of that. But I think just like in history, I mean, when you go back and you look at presidents, you can never judge them when they finish. So you got to wait several decades afterwards. I'm curious to see kind of what the legacy, or how people are going to wind up remembering Bobby Knight.
I mean, if you're a fan of basketball, you can say what you want about how things ended at Indiana. The fact of the matter is Coach Knight won, okay, and his teams played hard, and to me that was just that was kind of a power struggle in a way. I mean, did he do something he shouldn't have done? Sure, but I mean, how many coaches do a lot worse for the wrong reasons in other situations? And then obviously going to Texas Tech and making them an instant contender just shows you how great of a coach he was anyway. I mean, I won't ever look at it as being one of those things where it's like, well, that kind of puts a shadow on what he's done. And there's no way. I can't look at that knowing how Coach Knight coached and how his kids played and what he did for the sport. So if people want to focus on that, they're just stupid. That's how I feel about it. I know that was a hot take right there. I think people are stupid, right?
Well, if you want to jump right into the other segue, I mean,
Zach, you're running it now.
I was just going to say, I mean, we got some news around town. We got some postseason games in multiple sports, and I think, Chris, you kind of wanted to have maybe a little timeout tirade here. Go ahead if you want to, broach.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. And I'd love to get our anybody who's watching the comments and stuff on this. But St. Pius is playing in the state semifinals tomorrow, and back in the day, whenever your teams went to the state Final Four, they played the round robin. So you got a chance to see and play everybody from around the state. And then you turn around and then you're playing, with the state championship or the third place game. I'll be honest with you. I've watched enough volleyball to know that I absolutely hate the five set games. And
why?
And that's much softer than he put it pre-show.
Yes. So I think 5-set volleyball in high school is the equivalent of putting a screen door on a submarine or wiping your butt before you poop, because if you watch Jim's show on the move the Caravan Sports Preview that actually came out today when we were previewing it, I made the offhand comment about how much I don't like the 5 sets, and Jim goes into his reasoning behind why they did it, so kids are more prepared for college. I'm gonna say this as a high school coach, and it pains me to say it, but these kids they're playing select and club volleyball. They're not playing 5; they're playing 3, and it looks like they're getting ready for college volleyball just fine. There with their club and select playing at a higher level instead of playing on their high school teams and playing 5 sets. Why do I think it's really stupid for high school teams to do it? Oh, I don't know. Because it makes for a 2-hour-long volleyball game that shouldn't be. You should be able to decide in 3 sets who's the better team and be done with it. So the kids can go home and be student athletes and do their homework and have time to study. And then you don't have some, I want to say, lawnmower parents, helicopter parents, take care of their kids saying, well, my little kid doesn't need to play sports because they don't have time to do their academic stuff. And that's more important. I can't argue with that when you got a 2.5-hour 5-set volleyball game and one of them goes 32-30 as one of the scores. If we go 5 sets at the state tournament, it's going to automatically push games back because you will run out of time. So why do you want to do that? Oh, because it gets them ready. That's BS. That's stupid. Come on. We were just fine with 3. And those kids that went to college, played 3 sets of volleyball in high school, weren't like, oh my gosh, we got to take a red shirt year to get ready for this. No, they jumped right in, and if you're good enough, you're playing. You got to be kidding me. Again, it's like, hey, we're going to take away the 1-1 so people don't get hurt on rebounding.
So there's where this is coming.
Yeah, there's the rub for you right there. I'm just saying it's a stupid rule. It's a stupid rule. Okay, there's no reason why. Let's get you guys to talk. I'm done. I'm ranting.
I believe when they put this in place, was it 2 years ago that they did this?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. Missouri was the last state in the NFHS to actually adopt it and go to it. I think every other state that had high school volleyball was already playing 5 sets at the varsity level. Some states play it at all levels, which is even worse.
Why?
I don't know. But I understand. You want to try to get everybody on par, everybody in the same, and I get that. I don't think it adds that much to it. In many instances, I don't think that there's that many 5-set games, and when they go to 5-set, I believe it adds some pretty good drama to those games between good teams, unless it's 5 sets of bad volleyball. That's a different story. But I think it gives opportunities maybe in the middle of games where you could play more kids, get more kids involved. I think it gives that opportunity too as well. I never really had an issue with it other than the long nights, but most of these kids are already up until midnight or 1 trying to do their stuff anyway. So
I don't know. I think the whole purpose behind doing it, and great. I'm glad Missouri held out as long as they did, but still, I think it's watching some of these games. If they do go and they start getting to that point, the bad thing is you can let a team get momentum by having to play that extra set instead of, you can say, well, if you're good enough, you should have just put them away.
But
Yeah, but put them away at 3. Yeah, that's the easy way. That's the low hanging fruit right there. But
just get better.
Why go to that and then sit here and use that hypocrisy of we're all about student athletes and or student academics and stuff like that when you're missing the NFHS?
We've been through that already on this show.
I know. Right. It seems to be kind of like a reoccurring theme on our show.
Well, what I think is probably more at the crux of the issue is how it got implemented in Missouri. I don't think the coaches were in favor of it. I think it was very much how they did with the 1-1, NFHS did with the 1-1. I think it was just Michigan and Kerwin Erhan, I think it was the executive director at that time, was like, nope, we're going to go 5 sets of varsity volleyball. Your choice to do it at the JV level and under ones, but you don't have to. But starting this year, everybody goes to 5 sets for varsity volleyball. And it's, I guess, in our situation where we see a lot of good volleyball, it's not that big a deal, but I can imagine that there's some schools that don't have great volleyball and they've got to play 5 sets against another team that doesn't have great volleyball. I can see where that would come into play.
I look at it as when and however long ago, they went to rally scoring instead of, hey, you had
side out
and all of that. I see the purpose of now having 5 games because the games or whatever sets, whatever the heck you want to call it. And so that way,
whatever. That's your volleyball vocabulary.
Assists, bump set, spike, whatever, pass, whatever. No, I see the reason for that because when you change the rule to that rally scoring, then if it allows for, again, I mean, you think about it, you have 2 legitimate teams. You start out bad. Now you're all of a sudden down to 1-0. You're behind the 8 ball, and you've only got one more set to try and right the ship. I think going to 5 allows, I guess, that opportunity. Like Chris was talking about, low hanging fruit. On the flip side of that coin, it allows a team that starts poorly. They're not behind the 8 ball. They have a chance to compete.
Yeah, but then at the same token, those kids that, I mean, you don't want to put these kids an opportunity to get hurt either just by playing. And I'm just saying, like, if you're playing a good team against a really bad team, you should have been done in 2 sets. Okay. It should have been hey, we showed up, got off the bus, put our shoes on, we kicked your butt, 2 sets, go home. Instead, you got to play another one. And again, if you're playing and you spike the ball, you come down, you have a chance of laying on somebody's foot, rolling your ankle, things like that. I mean, look, and I could be devil's advocate and give you all the negative parts to it. I just think that the fact that it makes for longer night, the biggest part is the academic side, the longer nights, the longer games. Why? I really don't think it really makes them more prepared for the college game than they would if they were playing. They play their select games. They play those games. If they're an athlete, they're conditioned, What's
the percentage of kids going to college anyway?
I think the overall percentage is like 7% of high school athletes playing college or something like that.
So we're making it for the small group of people.
Wheel gets the grease. You ought to know that.
I don't think any of these kids and their parents are saying, my God, my high school wasn't preparing my kid for college because we're not playing 5 sets. But neither is their select team. Neither is a club team. Neither is a YMCA team. But all of a sudden, it's like, hey, they're not ready. It's another stupid way that the National Federation, who makes these decisions without going to the states or the advisory boards, just like they did with the 1-1, makes a dumb decision and then gets no feedback. Just says, hey, we're going to do this, and y'all are going to do it because we're in charge. And guess what? You had to.
On the other hand, all sports at some point have to evolve as they move along. They just can't stay where they're at. Their evolution of things have to move along. The game is
at this point. Chris would go shot clock.
Yeah.
I would vote for the shot clock.
The game of volleyball, high school volleyball, is insanely faster than what it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I'm not even counting rally scoring. The speed of play is insanely faster. The kids are more athletic. They're bigger. They're stronger. You'll see these games speed up at some point, 50 years down the road. They'll play 7 sets. Who knows?
Oh, God, please no.
You'll be dead by then, probably, anyway.
Wow.
wonder if they change the instead of going to
So mean.
25, you go to 15 or something like that. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah. So at least, Chris, at least they're not playing 5 sets with the original service scoring system.
That was rough. That was rough.
Yeah. Then they were just playing to 15 with that, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
3 sets. Yeah, and that was.
And you got to win by 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the game point, and then it's side out. You're like, if you're watching it, trying to go, no, I just want to go home.
Yeah, there's the only real evolution of volleyball I would have wondered and liked to have seen is, and trust me, not a volleyball guy, is I would like to see game point be you have to have serve to get game points, so the game doesn't necessarily end on the opposing team serving it into the net.
Mm-hmm.
You just get to serve back, and you have to score.
That just goes back to side out rules.
Yes, I would like, but to end a game, to win the game, I would like to see that. But they give me no choice in this, and I don't get to take any of the ballots or anything.
You're not big time. Maybe if we have Jim talk to somebody, we might be able to get some.
I'll get Jim on this. Jim will get the whole country settled on it.
Yes, he will.
Right through Fox 2 News. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, talking about the local athletes, we do have Jefferson County. We do have a local volleyball team. You brought it up. St. Pius X. They are back into the Final Four. I think this is their 12th trip or so going to the Final Four.
I think it's the total of 13, and it is 10 in the last 13 years.
So that was the big talk they moved up 2 classes. They were obviously pretty dominant in Class 2, and then they bumped up to Class 4 due to the championship factor. And I mean, it took maybe a year or 2, and here they are in Class 4. They've made the modifications to their schedule, and you're seeing the benefits of that. They played a lot of Class 5 teams this year. And I mean, you've got athletes all across the board. You've got 6-footers all across the front. You've got already one Division I verbal commit, and then it's a junior. You got another sophomore that's been playing out with USA volleyball, so probably a 6'4", another Division I athlete. So I mean, it's nice to see Jeffco representing there in the Final Four again. You had R7 last year, got St. Pius this year.
So and Shannon Leftridge did exactly what you said. You modified the schedule, got themselves playing the so-called blue bloods of St. Louis volleyball when it comes to this, and competing with them, and in some cases beating them, and even in games where they're losses, they learn a lot about what it's like to compete at that level for some of those kids, and more so than any other team in the county that can do that.
And that's something that I know Chris and I we have all kinds of debates on that over the years on different sports.
A couple.
You talk about scheduling. That's the thing. When we can just talk about, again, a perennial powerhouse, if you want to call it a Jefferson County blue blood. That's what St. Pius should be doing. They shouldn't be playing, even though they have a Class 2 enrollment. They shouldn't be playing. They should say, hey, you know what? We want to get the kids exposed not only to Class 4, Class 5 schools. You've got kids that are trying to go at the collegiate level. Let's go now that, in my mind, hey, we made it to the Final Four. Take the next step. Let's go out of state. Let's go try and get garner some national attention. Who cares? I mean, again, it's a way to get a name out. It's a way to get the kids' names out. It's a way to continue to build that program. I wish more schools, public and private, would go ahead and say, you know what, we'll sacrifice a loss here or there when we're at that caliber of a program, because you see Incarnate Word do that on the girls basketball side. They go play that national schedule. You see several other St. Louis schools do it on the boys side in basketball. I mean, maybe volleyball at some point gets that one of those, like a link prep type organization where you get the elite IMG Academy type schools. But I think until that happens, man, if I've got that type of a team, I've got those players, that's what I'm going to do.
No, don't put bad thoughts into people's minds about starting a Link Academy for volleyball thing here.
Well, don't do
that.
The reason that'll never happen is there's just not the money in college volleyball that's in college basketball. So
correct.
there won't be the bags of cash flowing through the University of Kansas to just get volleyball players to go there.
Right.
Man, that's definitely like just throwing some major shade. I love it, Kevin. Keep that coming.
So Bill Self is not running any of their NIL stuff or anything through the financial office at the athletic department.
Correct.
Otherwise known as their athlete ATM. So
what kind of bag? You want paper or plastic for your cash?
Yes. Or do you want it delivered via, like Uber money?
I want it in a bag.
Like that.
You put in one of them Western bags.
Cash dash type of thing. So I don't see that happening, but we have in the past. Pius has gone out. They've gone to Centroy or Effingham, Illinois, to play a tournament there a couple of years ago. But the coach at the time had a connection to the area. But they went and played it. They played in a Rockwood tournament that had a lot of teams from all over the state coming into play, and they played it in more of a showcase style where it was the 5 games were scheduled. It really wasn't a bracketed type of thing, so you could tell coaches I'm playing at these 5 times, which is much easier to do that for that college recruiting type of level. So they're doing a lot of the right things to do that, and hats off to them for competing and kind of becoming a destination for kids that really want to kind of get looked at that's outside of that St. Louis area.
Well, and the success that St. Pius has had, it's not just been, say, one coach and one player. I mean, to have it for that long, to have that many kids roll through. I know that the volleyball alumni, I mean, they're in there hosting open gyms, they're calling kids up to come in and actually play. Coaches don't have to do anything when the kids are wanting to get the other kids in there and make there's a standard that's set. That and I appreciate being somebody from South Iron. That's just how it was when I was in school with the people who had played there before you. And then if St. Pius plays well enough to advance, they'll play a team that they've already played. They could play in the state championship game with St. Michael the Archangel or Incarnate Word. They were on the schedule, or in the tournament and then on the schedule. So you have a chance to hopefully, if you can advance, you could learn from what you did the last time, because they lost to both of those schools. But now you have a chance to play. What have you learned, obviously, and how much better are you? And are those teams maybe complacent because they've already won? I mean, there's a lot of things. Kids are. It's hard to read sometimes how kids, how they prepare for that thing. I mean, how many times have you played a game against somebody and you've won as a coach, and you got to turn around and play them, and your kids kind of be like, hey, we got this in the bag. And it's like, hey, don't have that attitude. Next thing you know,
and I'll say this to volleyball, there's a different thing when it comes to playing one game in a day, because those kids with that select and travel are used to playing 3, 4, 5 games and doing that, but it's a little bit different type of setup when you're playing one game,
right?
5 sets of course, but one game, to try to get yourself mentally right for that. And that goes to coaching and some things like that to get those kids ready. So I know when they played St. Michael, it was in the end of like a 4-game day or a 3-game day for a tournament. So, and it was at the beginning of the year. So if it's St. Michael, they'll probably see a different St. Pius team, and we'll see a different St. Michael's team. And it's the same with Incarnate Word, who we saw in the middle of the year. But everybody's just a little bit different when it gets to this time of the year. So we'll see how that works out.
And you talk about, Chris, you're talking kind of about program history. You talk about culture. To switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to do this just because we can, but you look at the area, and I'm going to include Jefferson County. I'm also going to include the Mineral area. Cross-country championships are going to wind up being this Friday and this Saturday, and you've got a boatload of local teams and also individuals as well that are going back to it, and just kind of giving everybody their due here. In Class 1, Valley Catholic boys, they're going to go to the state championship. In Class 2, you have the Grandview girls. They made it. The St. Vincent boys, and then the St. Pius, the 10th boys, which we found out that this is the first time they're making history, program history, school history, first time that they made it to the state round. And then Class 3, you've got Herky boys and girls, and Potosi boys and girls. They're both going back. Class 4, you've got Festus, both their boys and girls teams, and then Class 5, the second girls. So there's a lot of local talent, not only teams, but also there's several other individuals from other local counties, small school and big school alike. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about those schools. And I think it's back to business as usual for Festus boys and Herculaneum boys.
Scott, Zach, you probably saw. Did you see the Festus boys race this year?
Yes.
Being around, are they?
Yeah.
You think they have a chance at winning another state title?
Yeah, so they are. So they're up there in terms of the team rankings, and they're actually led by a sophomore. It's a really good friend of my son, Carson Draymeyer. He's sitting right now as a sophomore. He's the number 2 sophomore in the entire state of Missouri, all classifications, and he's sitting at about, I want to say, 13th or 15th out of every cross country athlete. He's running in the 15s as a sophomore, 15 minutes. So Festus has a long lineage of a lot of D1 athletes. I think he's the next guy. Now, not to take away from any of the other upperclassmen, but we talked last year with football, and you talked about Romaine, and you talked about Branch being Power 5 guys. I think Carson's going to wind up being a Power 5 guy when all's said and done. He has that body already. He's a great kid, comes from a great family, and he's a heck of an athlete. He's that guy, and he's kind of that linchpin. And then on the girls' side, they're super young, but look for them to make some noise, not only in the years coming, but also this year as well. They kind of snuck in, I think, in that 4th place team, but they've got a lot of young talent, freshmen and sophomores that are running. And Herculaneum, they're trying to basically outduel West Plains. They're both, I think, tied to 13 state titles on the boys' side. And you've got, I'm going to probably butcher the name, but Vaughn and Wright, they're kind of the 1 and 2 guys for Herky. They went 1 and 2 at districts. And there's just a ton of talent. The fact that Jeffco, they're starting, they had this year their first cross country program. They've got a full girls team, got a couple guys, a lot of local talent, a couple Crystal City girls, Pius girl. If you're Jeffco, you got to be thinking, I just got to go right out to my back porch, and there's all these athletes from D1 down to our level at JUCO.
Yeah, it's cross country. I think we talk about a lot of other sports, but cross country is probably the deepest sport of as a whole within that Jefferson County mineral area kind of a vicinity there. Mm-hmm. I don't think that I don't think the talent level matches up with any other sport as a whole from school to school. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, you look at last year. Hillsboro rolls out 2 or 3 D1 guys. The brothers are D1. Festus ran out another couple of D1 guys. You go down south, Farmington right now, they're number 1. He's a stud of his own right. There's just not only D1 talent, but also just across any other collegiate level. There's just tons of kids on both the boys and girls side that they're going to be able to not only run but be successful. Even look at St. Pius. They've got one of the Eimer girls that won about 4 years now. 4 years ago, she's D1 down at UT Martin, I believe.
Yeah.
So
Rita.
Yeah.
Hey, the cross country programs are just out of this world in this area, and I don't think they get enough credit for how good they are. Unless you're just a huge fan. If you're just somebody who is kind of like a local sports fan, but just not somebody who just digs in deep on things or not paying attention, you're missing out. We have some really good runners in this area. We have some really good athletes who transition play into other sports too. So, it's great for the kids. We mentioned it on Jim's show about how awesome it is when these kids go and have the opportunity to compete at the state level. And, we obviously root, even though they might not be at our school, we do root for our county and for our kids to do well, because that's just part of it. I mean, we want them to show how good this area actually is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So we're gonna jump in, take a quick commercial break. We come back, let a second of the Coach's Box. We'll be right back.
I'm the play-by-play announcer who's in your ear all game long. And the more praise I heap on your team, the more excited you get. Touchdown! Now, you don't hear the upstairs toilet overflowing, and I don't mean with confidence. You wanted a bowl season? You got a bowl season. And if I could show up on game day, imagine what could happen the rest of the week. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem like me.
Mayhem is everywhere. Are you in good hands?
Imagine an HVAC as unnoticeable as the air itself. Sounds pretty good, huh? The new Daikin Fit. Air intelligence.
Give Home by SMCI a call today at 636-337-4444 or email them at service@homebysmci.com.
Guys, if you've been in to check out the changes at Casey Buck's Grub and Pub, stop by, check us out. We've got awesome wings, we got great pizza, we got a steak sandwich, a steak salad. Holy cow, we got games, we've got lotto, we've got cold beer, we've got a little bit of everything. Stop by, check us out, check out the weekly specials, barbecue, pork steaks, yum. Harold's Market, thank you, my friends. Check us out. We are waiting for you.
For 24 years, really enjoyed being a basketball coach. When I retired from coaching, I decided that I wanted to get back into the media world. I look at it from more of a coach's point of view. I love to showcase guests. I love to tell their stories, not just locally and regionally, but nationally as well. Joe Namath, Kurt Warner, Patrick Ewing, Katie Smith. Not just talk about their accolades, but what they have given back to the game, what they've given back as leaders in their community. And I want people to be able to listen to my show and to be able to take that into their life. They're going to be able to live their life like a champion. That's a show right there that I feel like is worth listening to.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the second segment of the Coach's Box. If you had an opportunity earlier, today was a busy day for the Off the Rails Media Network. We pretty much jam-packed 3 shows in today, this being the third and last one of the night. If you need to, you can go back to our YouTube channel or Facebook page and check out On the Move with the Caravan Sports Preview Show with Jim Powers. That was a pretty good episode. Talked about our local football teams, our local state volleyball teams that are competing, as well as our cross-country teams that we actually talked a little bit about tonight on this show. And then, of course, our new show, the Nova Nation podcast with Rob Logan. Rob does such a good job. He's been a guest on our show, and he's trying to get going on his stuff, and we're more than happy to help him. And he does some great stuff with his guests and what he does. So we're excited about that. You need to go and check it out. It was the season premiere tonight, and you can see all that for free on our YouTube and Facebook pages. So Zach, what do we have on the docket for tonight?
I'm pulling an audible because this is absolute
Omaha.
This is driving me nuts. And if either one of you fit into this category, you have dropped down a notch in my book, and we might have to question our friendship. I'm sick, so sick.
I'm out tirade.
Yes. Anybody that wants to put up Christmas decorations directly after Halloween. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. We have Thanksgiving. Until that's over with, you don't even think about putting up decorations. You don't even think about putting up the tree. I'm so sick of, they just had to have Mariah Carey. She's thawing out, people. Hallmark's already got, no, you're psycho. No, stop it.
Didn't one of the radio stations already just like switch over to Christmas music?
Probably 102.5. Because
I'm going
to have to listen to it.
Or something.
I'm going to have to listen to it, Kevin.
I'm not. I don't. I take it off the dial. So,
you know what, Zach? I don't agree with you often. I can't stand it either. Listen. It's one thing if that's what you want to do, you just go ahead and you do you, okay? But don't jump on Facebook, social media. Don't judge me for not having damn Christmas lights up because you just can't get enough of Christmas, and that's fine. Everybody in that kind of mood, whatever. Obviously, I don't watch Hallmark movies or anything like that. I don't care about Christmas movies. They're all the same. They have the exact same storyline. Plug in the same people for same stuff. You do you, but don't sit there and rub it in my face about Christmas. It's like Buddy the Elf jumping up and down. No, you're right. After Thanksgiving, when Thanksgiving ends and you're cleaning up the mess, you go to bed at like 5:30 in the afternoon because of all the turkey and the food you've eaten. And when you wake up in the middle of the night, if you want to get up right then at 3 o'clock in the morning, put your Christmas lights up, by all means, I'm down with that. But no, not before.
There's a couple of traditions we have in our house. One is we wait till after Thanksgiving. We very much do this. And generally, it's me rearranging the living room furniture so I can put the tree up in the living room while sometimes the wife goes Black Friday shopping. So we got that going on. Only once have we ever veered from that tradition. And it was in 2020. We were all stuck in the house. We all had COVID. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, we were all at each other's throats. We were sick. We were all at each other's sore throats. We were sick. And the only thing we could do to bring some joy to this house was we put the damn Christmas tree up because we needed that at that point in time where we were going to end up in some sort of a COVID divorce. It wasn't going to end well. So we did it. The kids loved it. We got along. Everything went fine. But that's the only time we've ever done it.
And then it's like, and we're back to normal now. We don't need that.
Here's why. Winter sucks. It's cold. It's dark. And no, not at all.
I mean, I disagree. I love winter.
No.
I'm okay. I'm okay with the weather. Not a problem with it.
No.
But I think that there are many people in this country that are severely mistreating Thanksgiving by skipping right over it to go to it. It's one of the great holidays. It's got food, it's got football, it's got fun. The 3 F's of holidays. And
Chris's family has a 4th one, but we'll leave that for later.
Oh wait, no.
It's called firewood.
I guess
you forgot the firewood you got to cut after you eat.
I take that back. I guess the fourth F of holidays is family. Did I leave that one out? But you don't have to.
Sure.
Have
No, I mean I agree. I don't know why people have to be so look, I mean it's great, and I get your reason, Kevin. That's an interesting story. I like that. You have raised your kids right whenever you say it's our tradition to, once Thanksgiving is over, then we're going to start doing the Christmas thing. I'm telling you right now, I can't wait to see how many houses around me are going to be putting Christmas lights. I'm like, geez, this is terrible.
I saw a guy out today looking at his house like he had tubs out. Like, no, you communist, put them away.
The stores have it out already. It's like it wasn't even Halloween yet.
I'm gonna say one thing that's okay still. That you can start putting these out, okay? Because Little Debbie has those little pumpkin things that they have out for Halloween. They're shaped like little pumpkins, kind of like, I don't know, not like pumpkin pie, but that's what's in it. Kind of when Halloween ends, you can start having Christmas tree cakes on the shelf. That is a 100% okay, because you do not have a Thanksgiving style food for a Little Debbie cake that's a substitute.
Hold on, I'm gonna flat disagree with you. They can be eaten all year because somewhere in the world is a snow-covered evergreen tree. So you can.
All right, I agree with that.
Yes.
Why don't they just go ahead?
Reese's trees.
Again,
that's fine.
There's chocolate. I don't know if there's chocolate covered trees, but there's trees somewhere. You can eat them. You can eat them for Arbor Day.
They even have chocolate covered Christmas tree cakes.
Oh.
And right now I'm really debating on why I'm trying to diet, because those sound amazing.
It seems like November and December are the worst times to try to diet.
Halloween. Think about it. Halloween.
I still eat a lot of candy though. I'm not a big candy eater.
Yeah, he handed me the rest of his Kit Kats in his office the other day.
I know, it was tough. I like Kit Kats. It's one of the few things I do enjoy eating, candy-wise.
It's good.
Like people who say, like, "Oh, I love saltwater taffy." I'm like, you shut your mouth.
That's me.
Please stop. I'm pretty sure I said it to you. You shut your mouth. No, it was our intervention meeting. You don't need
intervention. Kevin, Kevin needs an intervention meeting. We love you, Kevin. We care about
you. That was right after me and one of our coworkers said, "Yeah, we don't mind candy corn."
No.
Throw it away.
Nope.
So I agree with that. Go ahead. What's next on? So you now that you got your audible out of the way.
Okay. So here's another one. We can debate this because I don't like it. You fire McDaniels halfway into the season or wherever they're at. They're probably not quite halfway. Okay, listen. You're the boss. You're the owner. You can do whatever you want to do. I don't like it. You have a contract. Honor the contract. Let him finish out the season. If you want to let him go, let him go. You're not going to win anyway. And it's just saying, hey, we're gonna let you go. That's not going to light the fires. Kick the tires and light the fires for getting in the playoffs. I don't think that's honorable.
Well, Zach, I'm going to say this. In a normal business setting, let's say it's a sales setting, if some guy is not performing, or girl, whatever, some employee is not performing up to snuff, you don't wait until the deadline to fire them. If they're not getting there, you fire them when you realize they can't do the job. And I think we knew that McDaniels couldn't do the job before they even hired him. And it was just inevitable.
It's Mr. Anderson. It's inevitable. Okay. The difference though is in the business world, it doesn't end. All season, sports has a finite ending to their season, to their year, and I think
they also fired the GM as well with him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well,
now there's nobody. There's like they named Antonio Pierce the interim coach. He's never even been a coordinator, I don't think.
See, the thing about McDaniels is
all over again.
The thing about McDaniels is most of these guys who have a lot of success as coordinators. He's a good coordinator. There's so much more that goes to running a football team than just calling the plays. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for some of these guys we're seeing a lot of these guys who, like we talk about quarterbacks who aren't developed enough to come into a situation in the NFL and run a team and be the quarterback because they're not used to making reads and they're not used to doing this and they're not used to doing that in college. It's kind of the same way with these coordinators where they're not used to doing certain things that would make them really good head coaches, or they're trying to hold on to some of the stuff like when you have a defensive coordinator. Well, I'm going to call the defensive plays. No, I don't think that's a good idea, man, because you have other crap you need to worry about. You need to worry about the offense. You need to worry about special teams. You need to worry about personnel. You need to worry about this, that. You don't have time to do that. So when guys like McDaniels, and he's a brilliant offensive play caller when he's a coordinator. Right. He is a terrible head coach in the NFL. He's one of the worst head coaches in the NFL of all time because he can't manage that. He cannot put this away to do that, or he cannot handle carrying all of the load of what a head football coach in the NFL has to do.
Is he the one that pretty much started the Broncos' downward spiral that they can't get out of at this point?
Yeah, he drafted Tebow in the first round.
That was fine.
And the most unheralded, the head coaching hire in the last few years that has probably caught the most flack, or like this was such an unimpressive hiring that turned out to be the best, was Dan Campbell in Detroit.
Yes, because
he wasn't a successful coordinator. He didn't have all the flash and bells and whistles that came with him, but he knew how to lead another group of people and other coaches to teach them how to lead other players. And he's done a wonderful job doing that.
And part of it is, you guys as head coaches can elaborate if you want. I mean, you can even take it down to the high school level. But part of the issue is, if you look at a Dan Campbell, I bet he's not a micromanager. You look at some of these guys that get fired, they're micromanagers because they know what they know, and maybe they don't know how to do the managerial stuff or the logistical issues. They can play call, but like you said, they don't know how to lead a room. They don't know how to delegate power and authority. Hey, let your assistants do that. Right. To me, again, I look at it as an NFL head coach. A head coach in the NFL is one of the most overrated jobs. Like, who cares? If I want to be a coordinator, because that's the guy that's calling in the plays. That's the one that has – now, again, a head coach can have veto power. That's fine. But that's every play you're putting your stamp on it. And when you're the head coach, you're worried about timeouts. You're talking to officials. There's so much other things that you have to do on the sideline that it takes away from your focus. And like you said, McDaniels is an excellent coordinator. It's okay. Stay in your lane. Look at Spags over in Kansas City. Not that good of a head coach for the Rams. Look at what he's done out in Kansas City.
And he did it in New York as a defensive coordinator as well before then. He's just a coordinator. I'll take this down one level from the NFL. Why is Mizzou so much better this year than in the past? Eli Drinkwitz took play calling duties off of him, and he's now able to be that CEO type where he can just manage that and spend all of his energy on what he does best, recruit.
Right.
Well, and
he's done a really good job of that.
Yeah, he has. But the thing is about these guys, I disagree with NFL coaches being overrated. I think NFL coaches are the fall man for everything. If it's one thing if you're an offensive coordinator and your offense just really, really sucks, there's a good chance you're getting fired, okay? Because you're not getting these guys from preseason to week 1 to week 17, 18, whatever, to get them to where they need to be. You're probably going to lose your job. That's one. And it could be a roster thing. It could be a difference in philosophy with the head coach who's vetoing you, whatever. But the thing is, and I agree about Dan Campbell, a lot of that too is the fact that they didn't have a lot of expectations in Detroit because they're the Detroit Lions and they have sucked for so long. So he gets to come in there and he gets an opportunity to say, hey, we're going to do it like this. Whereas McDaniels, the Raiders are one of the most volatile franchises in the last 30 years with Mark and Al Davis running the show. Mm-hmm. There's no room for error. You're always getting criticized by the owner. I mean,
by the fans,
and then the fans in Oakland. Then you move, so you got all that put on you too, because now there's that expectation, and that's a big deal, especially in that kind of a market, or with a fan base. Excuse me, not the market, the fan base. Then you take it somewhere like the Jets, the Giants, and the Cowboys. Everybody is always scrutinizing those jobs. You look at what's happened in Denver. It's hard to be an NFL head coach. It's easy to be a coordinator. It's real easy, but if you're trying to carry those coordinator duties as a head coach, there's a lot that goes to it, and I think a lot of these guys are just too much ego.
Mike Martz is an example of this as well. The earliest example of this, where he went back to the Super Bowl the year later or 2 years later.
2 years later.
2 years later, but that was still Vermeil's team pretty much, and he just kind of wrote it there.
Well, if you the St. Louis Rams were that 3-year run is a great example. So in '99 you win the Super Bowl. The next year you start out hot. Your defense sucked, and the reason defense sucked, Martz is the head coach. So all the emphasis is now on the offense. Defense went from being like 5th in the league to I think about 30th or 29th real quick. And go look those numbers up. I'm probably wrong, but they were really good offensively. Went 10-6, got bounced by the Saints. Oz Hakeem fumbled. Then the next year, have a really good year, and it's more of the same, where there's, Martz is just trying to juggle way too much and still do what he does offensively. There's stuff that's not being taken care of defensively, and then you have Marshall Faulk, who's the best player on the planet at that point in time, and he does not get the football in the Super Bowl. They hand the ball off 20-plus times in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, and then he does not do it in the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah,
there you go.
Well,
thinking about other things.
Yeah, the main thing that NFL coaches have to do, and now to an extent Power 5 football coaches have to do because of NIL, is they're managing egos. And they have to spend a vast majority or percentage of their time managing the egos of these people that make more than they do.
Yep.
And it's a tough job. I can only imagine what it's like to do, having to do that. If you're trying to call plays and keep track of all that and making sure that the defensive guys are staying out of trouble and offensive guys are staying out of trouble and those types of things. And
you look at what type of coach is successful in the NFL when we talk about head coaches. Are they player coaches? Are they more schematic, analytical type coaches? I mean, I think Vermeil, he only had a handful of team rules because he said the rules you have to enforce. So I'm not going to have that many rules. You go back and you look at, again, some of the bigger personalities like a Rex Ryan as a player coach, and there is that managing of what type of personality. Because I'll switch over to baseball and look at a Matheny. Okay, Matheny, very stoic, very very buttoned up. I think at the professional level, that's what maybe got him in trouble a little bit. Hey, we're adults, we're professionals. Let us do our thing. I think that's what got Saban with Miami. I think that's what got him in trouble in the NFL.
And then you get the loose guys like Urban Meyer, who,
that's a different story.
But I'll say this: who are the longest tenured coaches in the NFL right now?
Belichick, Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a short list.
Who's the guy? The guy in Pittsburgh.
Tomlin,
and the guy in Pete Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pete Carroll has not made it as long as those other guys,
but he's
up there now.
Up there with it.
Mm-hmm.
Are they players coaches? Belichick is not necessarily a scheme guy. He's a regiment guy.
Yes.
Breed is the same way, a regiment guy, but he's got some personality to him and some lightheartedness.
He lets the guys have a lot of freedom. You watch that QB documentary, and they kind of talked about how
if you listen to any of the Kelsey brothers podcast, the way that they talk, because they both played for Reed, and the way they talk about how he is with his teams, it's interesting to hear that.
And that I think that there is a difference. There is a difference from going pro to college. Again, they are still kids. I mean, they're young adults, but they are still kids, and you can put your thumb on them a little bit more than. Again, when Chris said, "I'm making more money than you, why do I have to listen to you? I'm a professional now."
Yeah.
At the college, there's a huge difference in how the roster is constructed at the college level and at the pro level, in the sense that, at the college level, you have 80-something kids on your roster, and you picked all of them hand personally to be on that team.
Mm-hmm.
At the pro level, you only got 53 spots, and some of them you get stuck with for various reasons, whether they be cap or whatever. You're just stuck with them and their personality, and because you need them there for whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't have 6 people behind him where if the guy does something stupid, you sit him down and put somebody else in. You don't have that. You're like, well, I'm playing. You can't bench me.
I go back to this, and here's my question, and they talk about this all the time. Is it a situation to where the owners it's a good old boy network, and they're afraid to maybe hire somebody new? I mean, you see the same names being recycled over and over. And at some point, even at the professional level, you have to let new blood get in, and you gotta let people learn. You got, and if they're, you got to take the training wheels off, and you got to let them learn how to either succeed, learn how to fail.
Well, the problem is, it goes back to this argument I had with my ex-wife like a long time ago, because I tried to tell her it's not what you know, it's who you know. And a lot of these guys are well connected. They know these other guys. They know people who are general managers because they were on staff with them, or they came up in the same programs or whatever, went to the same colleges. They know each other. They get these jobs. It ends up becoming a small fraternity of a certain amount of people. And there's a lot of guys who don't get those opportunities because of that thing. The other part of it is I'm always looking for the shiny new toy. So I want the guy who's got the best offense. Oh, okay, right. This guy had the best defense, and he's going to be the new head coach. Or look what this guy did is this, and that's this from this other team. And that's what they start doing. And you got some of the college coaches, when you get these younger college coaches or whatever, Lincoln Riley's name will get thrown up I don't know how many times for the next few weeks now that somebody's been fired in the NFL. Because and going back, Zach, to why the Raiders fired a coach, and why coaches will start getting fired before the season ends. So now they can get college football coaches. They can go and talk to them and try to get them lined up, so that way they have that taken care of. So this coach, if they don't make a big time bowl game, and they're not playing in the who gives a rat's ass bowl, then I'm going to take this interview from this NFL job, because we sucked this year, or we finished 8-4, or whatever. And I've had a long run of success before then, kind of like USC. And then I'm going to go and interview for these jobs, and I don't even have to worry about coaching in that crappy bowl game. I'm going to go take my pro job. How many times have you seen that happen?
I know. I'm
how many times has it been successful for that coach 4 years down the road?
It hasn't. It has not. We haven't seen that success.
But
I didn't hear you.
He said other than his wallet.
Other than his wallet.
Oh, yeah. That's a win.
In the NFL.
Well, I look at who the current NFL coaches are that are being somewhat successful, the newer ones that have just come up. You're talking about McDaniel in Miami, where he's a little bit of a quirky personality, but he's managing his team, and they're doing really good things there. Shanahan, Indiana, San Francisco, guys like that. They all come from similar coaching trees, like what Chris talked about. But at some point, they've all learned how to be a coach, because there are certain coaches in the NFL that do a better job at teaching their assistants to be head coaches than others. And Andy Reid's one of them, very much so. But not many coaches want to be the one that trains their possible future replacement. I'm not teaching you to be better than me because they're going to fire me to pick you. I'm not doing that. Yeah, is what some will say. So,
well, we can jump back into this a little bit if we feel like it, but we have to take a break real quick, and we come back. We'll have our last final short segment of the show. You are watching the Coach's Box. We'll be right back.
I'm the play-by-play announcer who's in your ear all game long. And the more praise I heap on your team, the more excited you get. Touchdown! Now, you don't hear the upstairs toilet overflowing, and I don't mean with confidence. You wanted a bowl season? You got a bowl season. And if I can show up on game day, imagine what could happen the rest of the week. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem like me.
Mayhem is everywhere. Are you in good hands?
Imagine an HVAC as unnoticeable as the air itself. Sounds pretty good, huh? The new Daikin Fit. Air intelligence.
Give Home by SMCI a call today at 636-337-4444 or email them at service@homebysmci.com.
Guys, if you've been in to check out the changes at Case and Buck's Grub and Pub, stop by, check us out. We've got awesome wings. We got great pizza. We got a steak sandwich, a steak salad. Holy cow. We got games. We've got lotto. We've got cold beer. We've got a little bit of everything. Stop by, check us out. Check out the weekly specials. Barbecue, pork steaks. Yum. Harold's Market. Thank you, my friends. Check us out. We are waiting for you.
For 24 years, really enjoyed being a basketball coach. When I retired from coaching, I decided that I wanted to get back into the media world. I look at it from more of a coach's point of view. I love to showcase guests. I love to tell their story, not just locally, regionally, but nationally as well. Joe Namath, Kurt Warner, Patrick Ewing, Katie Smith. Not just talk about their accolades, but what they have given back to the game, what they've given back as leaders in their community. And I want people to be able to listen to my show and to be able to take that into their lives. They're going to be able to live their life like a champion. That's a show right there that I feel like is worth listening to.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Coach's Box. It is our third and final segment of the show. If you like our show, you can go and what?
You sound so sad that it's our last segment.
You almost said last episode.
Well,
the FCC hasn't given me any calls yet. And those fake Facebook meta emails that they keep trying to send, like those scammers saying they hope this reaches me in good health. I'm not falling for it, okay? It's just not happening. No, yeah, trust me. I get those emails on the Coach's Box Gmail account. I'm like,
is it a Nigerian prince or something?
No, it's not. But it kind of is worded that way a little bit. And I'm just sitting here going, hey, not today, Satan. We're not doing that. So anyway, if you like our show, you want to come back and watch all of our old episodes, you can go on our YouTube channel and see them all, or our Facebook group page. And guys, how much are they to watch? If we carry the one,
free.
Are we using Common Core math?
Common Core math,
still free.
Square, circle, triangle, free.
Free. It's all free.
Hey, you're telling people to go back and rewatch all of our episodes. That's a rabbit hole. Be prepared to go down that you may never come out of.
Yeah. And
if you do come out, you won't be the same.
There is quality galore.
Yes.
And value. Quality and value unparalleled in this universe.
Absolutely. With great freaking value, because that's all we're about here. If you've been living under a rock, which, you know what, it's one of the lowest rated World Series of all time. I listening.
I wonder
to that.
why.
Well, because, you got the fifth and sixth best teams in Major League Baseball playing for a championship right now.
It's basically it's a play-in game for the World Series.
Yes, except that they actually get the trophy when it's all said and done. The Rangers are up 3-1 on the Diamondbacks, and they currently are winning 1-0 in the bottom of the seventh. So, unless David Freese has his day, I'm pretty sure the Rangers might hold on and win this one.
David Freese is going to need 3 more days to get the Diamondbacks out of this thing.
I did like the memes where it said that the Diamondbacks have signed David Freese to a 7-day contract, and he will be in uniform for Game 6 tonight. Those were pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to matter too much. I was kind of wondering how the injury to Garcia was going to, affect how the Rangers, played the rest of, I guess it'd been game 5. No.
And all they do is hit anyway. So
they got a lineup that everybody just smokes the ball. Corey Seager's good. If they win, Corey Seager's World Series MVP.
This is what happens when you spend money. It may not look pretty during the regular season. It pays off in the end.
Well, they still won 90 games. Okay, so it's not like it's an 80-win team. The Diamondbacks have 84 wins. And it's just, that's great. You might, the Diamondbacks might come back and win this game, and they did win one game, and it was a blowout. But listen, the best of 7 series, if you're not that good, you're not that good. And it ain't like they had a bunch of guys who were hurt all year, and then all of a sudden they got healthy, and then they made a run at this, maybe some of these other teams have. They're just not very good, and it's not a very entertaining World Series. I don't think. I did think I thought Game 1 was, and after that it's just been like no.
I don't think I'll be honest. I don't think I've watched more than 4 minutes of it total. So I just not that interested in either the Rangers or the Diamondbacks, so it doesn't interest me to watch it that much. And
there's a lack of star power.
And with baseball, that's what you need. You have to have some sort of connectivity to one of the teams in order to make it watchable.
I'll if I'm out and about, and that's what I was watching the game, and I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. I can watch this, but if I have other stuff to do, I'm not going to watch it. And you're right. It's because I don't have. There's no connection to it.
Yeah, there's lots of connections. There's lots of former Cardinals.
Yeah, the only reason to piss me off. So I don't really want to have to watch it just for those reasons. But I mean, it does show. It does show that you spend a little bit of money and good things happen in baseball, and you get a good manager who says, "I don't like your math in baseball. I'm going to do what I want to do," and that's kind of worked out.
So who's the manager for Texas?
Bruce Bochy.
Yeah. He's been around the block a little bit. Hasn't he won quite a bit?
He's a borderline Hall of Famer.
Just a border.
Just borderline.
He's only won 3.
It's like a big, thick 325-point font border, but it's borderline.
Yeah. It's we could have hired him too, and that could have really changed the way the Cardinals done things. They would have actually had a manager who done what he's supposed to do, and then because he didn't use a calculator, he would have got fired.
So I want to ask all of our viewers if Marino's still watching.
I think he said he's out.
My question is, for the Cardinals, are we in? I mean, I know what my opinion is, but you look at Arizona, look at Texas. They were 90-game losers, 100-game losers just a few years ago, a few seasons, and here they are in the World Series. Is this year an anomaly in terms of the Cardinal history, or are we set for the coming decade of less than being mediocre? Because
it's a very good question.
Because of analytics, because we don't want to spend. If we do spend, we don't spend the right way. We don't draft and develop. I mean, what do you think?
It's talent evaluations. They evaluate certain players to be something that they are not, and they had these expectations for these players to be put into these roles and slots, and they just didn't pan out. So their evaluation of talent was horrible, and it didn't pay off.
Well, I think we're in. If we're not going to spend money, and this will be the offseason that kind of tells you what the Cardinals are going to do. If they don't go out, they don't address the pitching staff. If they don't get pitchers, if they don't try to improve the overall talent of the club, we are in for a very long, terrible winter of Cardinal baseball where we're not going to be very good. We'll win some games because we have the crappiest division in baseball that we get to play against, but we will not be at that point where we can win a division, and damn sure won't be able to win a wild card because there's going to be teams, in other divisions that are much better than us. We'll be closer to winning a division than a wild card, which tells you how much your division sucks.
The balanced schedule did the Cardinals no favors by not giving us 100 games against other Central Division teams.
Right. Well, and
there's your answer right there from Coach Moreno, just to throw it out there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so because the farm system's bad too. Eddie brings that up. The fact that farm system didn't win that much either. How do you fix it? I mean, if you're not going to spend, how do you fix it?
Well, first off, you got to trade. You got to trade something to get those prospects back. You have to do a better job of getting. I'm telling you right now, we just have a bunch of guys outside of just a couple that look like a bunch of pasty white dudes from the Midwest. We don't utilize the foreign market. We don't get the Cuban players. We don't get those guys who are trying to defect. And when we go into the Asian market and try to get an international player from there, it's some nobody's ever heard of guy, or he's 38 years old and he's only got one good year left. We'll sign a 2-year deal, so we get one good one and he sucks the next, and that's it. So unless you're taking Goldschmidt and you're going to trade him away and get something back from him, everybody else has to do a better job, whether it's your talent evaluators, your scouting, and then spending money. At the end of the day, there's guys out there that you could put into place that would have made us a good team, a good solid team, that they got signed other places because we don't want to spend the money like we should. We don't have to be the Mets and spend, irresponsibly, but we could have spent the money like the Rangers did. Seager got a 10-year deal. He's obviously going to be worth it. Okay. At the end of the day, he's a World Series MVP. He's a left-handed hitter. He's going to end up playing like 3 different positions probably because he's not going to be able to play shortstop. Probably end up playing first. He'll DH. We have the designated hitter now. Why not utilize that and say, we'll give you the 10-year deal because I want to get those best 4 or 5 years out of him, and then that's it. I mean, it's going to be worth it to the fan base at the end of the day.
I go back to, you said the Mets, and Kevin, sorry to cut you off. I like with the fact that the owner talks about how I'm going to spend money because I want to win and I want to do the best thing for the fans. You're an owner of a business of playing a game like that. That's what you're doing. You're not making a boatload of profit as an owner of a professional sports team. That's why they have minority ownership. Okay. You're making your billions in other avenues, other venues. So go be the Cubans of the NBA, Mark Cubans of the NBA. Go be the Mets owner and say, you know what? We're going to do this for the fans. We're going to spend. We're going to do everything we can. And if it didn't pan out this year, then it didn't pan out. Then we're going to try again next year. I've got no fault with the Mets trying to do that.
They sold off. They sold off Verlander and Scherzer from the Mets, and they got a haul from them. So we tried it. We spent a lot of money. It didn't work because the rest of our team wasn't any good. So what can I do? Oh, there are 2 best pieces. Let's sell them off. And now we've added into the stockpile. So in essence, it didn't work. But in turn, I spent the money. Now I've got twice as much what I had before for them that can make us better for the long run.
The owner from the Mets,
Cohen.
Yeah, he played his roster like they were the stock market. He bought until he realized it wasn't going to be profitable for him, and he sold them for a profit. And he would have done more if he probably didn't think, like he said, his fans, who he really does, I think, want them. If his fans wouldn't have absolutely revolted on him, he would have sold the whole roster off to get everything back and then done the whole thing again next year to try to rebuy.
Yeah. So when Marino says this is a 3 to 5 year process, then I'm going to throw it out here. Why not get rid of Goldie, and why not get rid of Arenado and get as much as you can for him? If you're 5 years away, heck, if you're 3 years away, go get as much as you can for him then.
Well, your 3 year process, your 3 to 5 year process still has to include fans coming through the turnstiles in some effect, and you need those names to do that.
Well, yeah, I think given the fact, I think Goldschmidt's contract is up after next year, so this offseason is going to be that big proving point. Are they going to do something? Are they going to do something in free agency? What are they going to look like on opening day? If there isn't a lot of change and then they don't try to sell off those pieces, then yeah, it's going to be a cold winter. 3 to 5 years is a very, very, very easy expectation.
I personally would rather them. You wouldn't see when they trot out 9 on opening day that you're not going to see that much change. What I would really like to see is the rotation change, so that offensively, if you can improve the rotation, you can take a lot of pressure off the offense on a daily basis, where they don't feel like they have to carry you every day.
How do you do
that? You probably sign 3 to 4 guys.
Okay, who's
rotation wise?
Who's 3 to 4 guys that's worth the darn?
2 of them have to be have to be top end of the rotation.
You got to sign 2 guys you got to sign a Nola, you got to sign a Snell. No matter if they don't go out and get either both of those, or at least, God forbid, just one, we are in such trouble. It's not even funny.
You've got some pieces to trade, and you may trade for those, but you've got to have a massive change in that rotation. Whether it is someone like a Sonny Gray, who I would be okay with being part of the rotation, or a Tyler Glasnow, who would be a good part of that rotation.
Are you settling with those guys? Because it sounds like you just saying, I'm okay with it.
Sonny Gray is a good pitcher as long as he's not playing for the Yankees. Okay, that's it. He's a good pitcher, but he's
stadium.
I would take right now I would take him. He'd be my number 2 at least, if not my number 1. He's that good. But then Glasnow is a 1 or a 2. We know Snell's a 1. We know that Nola is a 1. I would take those guys.
Now, Nola this offseason, his price increased significantly with the way he pitched for the
That's
Phillies.
okay.
But you still have to go pay for that price. Go give him that money. Find that East Side money and give him that money.
There's some out there.
Who have the Cardinals done that with?
Nobody.
Well, why not
Mike Leake?
Yeah, but his deal wasn't. Yeah,
but I'm saying, but I will say, Mo even has stated that he has to do some things he hasn't done in the past this offseason. Now, I understand where you're going with that. Yes, I'd much rather show me state, show me. All right. So if he does it, we've got to do it. But he's even stated he's got to do some things differently, and part of that differently, we're all hoping, is to go spend some money on some pitching.
Okay. Hope in one hand.
I know.
You know what in the other, and see which one gets filled faster.
Poop. It's
but here's the thing. They talk
Zach, you can say poop on the air. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay to say
the
poop.
Thing. They talked about this morning on the radio. Hey, people weren't coming to the games. It doesn't matter because they bought the tickets. They don't. Who do you think? Mo? Do you think ownership cares if you're actually going to the? They bought the tickets. It was 3 million. We're 3 million in attendance. We're still top whatever. People are still going to Ballpark Village. People are still spending their money. The only way you can do it, again, is kind of like voting with your feet, is saying, hey, I'm going to vote with my wallet and I'm not going to spend on the Cardinals. Like, I'm just not going to do it. And I don't see our fan base doing that because we are the best fans in baseball.
Well, it's kind of like this. When you grew up as a Cardinals fan and your dad was a Cardinals fan, your grandpa was a Cardinals fan, your great-grandpa was a Cardinals fan, it's really hard to just say, oh, I don't want to be a Cardinals fan because it's such an ingrained thing in the Midwest like it is. I mean, we have a fan base that extends all the way into Chicago. We have a fan base that goes into Arkansas and into Kansas and into Iowa and everywhere around because we were the team in that area that was relevant, and the radios broadcasted the games, TV stations would broadcast those games, and people went to the game. The thing is if and Kevin said earlier when we talked about high school sports, the sports, they evolve. They evolve. We know that baseball has evolved into this crazy, everybody's chasing analytical stuff or whatever now, but you got to still have some dudes that can play. And I think if we don't, I don't think the offense is good enough to carry it either. I don't think the offense is good enough if you just add the pitching to be good because of the way it's constructed. Our outfielders are not good, except Walker has the potential to be good. Newt Barr hasn't, and he hasn't been able to be healthy enough to show it. O'Neill, he's got to go. Carlson's got to go. We could have traded Carlson and got a good pitcher at some point last year, but we couldn't get him out of Mo's cold, dead hands, to quote him even saying it, because he thought he was going to be the guy, and he ended up being the fourth outfielder, and we wouldn't bat him if there was a certain-handed pitcher pitching.
Yeah, he was the fifth outfielder at times.
My bad, fifth.
Palacios. By the end of the year, Palacios
was outplaying him too.
Well, you got a shortstop in the outfield. You got a catcher in the outfield. I mean,
you got a third baseman in the outfield. And again, the whole Contreras thing this year. I mean, what a debacle that was. What an embarrassment that was to our. I mean, what again? I was genuinely embarrassed about that. Like, why did we sign this guy to be the catcher? And then it's like, well, he ain't figured things out. We're gonna put him in the outfield.
You knew what he was. Nobody's Yadi Molina. Nobody's that defensive catcher. You got the guy because you were expecting offense from him.
And he did what he produced what he did. That's who he is.
So that just tells me, that you relied on Yachty catching for 20 years, and the pitchers that you must have had for the last 20 years may not have been as good as you thought, and Yachty hid a lot of deficiencies.
Listen.
So then that goes back to what Kevin says when you talk about you must not be evaluating talent or you must not be developing talent.
When Jeff Weaver is one of your World Series pitchers, and Jeff Weaver was a washout who should have been good, but they duct taped him together, and they got him to be a quality starter for the Cardinals when they won in 2006. It shows you, number one, how much La Russa, Dave Duncan, and Yadier Molina meant to this organization. And it pains me to say it as much as I drove me nuts to watch one guy come in and pitch against one dude and then leave the game. And I'm like, that's a wasted guy. But you know what? It worked out. And then we'd have Jeff Weaver.
I'm saying this is the what Chris was talking about. The list of names is pretty long. When you think about it, the Jeff Supans of the world.
Jeff Suppan.
Woody Williams.
The Woody Williams of the world. I can't even think of some names, but you know that Yachty made Waino better than what he actually was. You could see at times. Now Waino was still pretty good in his own right, but Roddy took pitchers from here to here, but then he took pitchers that were here and put them here.
Yes, Chris Carpenter.
Chris Carpenter, yes. God, I could only imagine what he would have done with someone like Bob Tewksbury. But there's just the names of people that went through. John Lackey's on that list, I think, even. Yeah. They got off the bargain bin, the $5 bargain bin, and made him relevant in that World Series in some of those postseason runs. So you didn't replace like for like, so you can't expect the same thing. So now you got to go out and get better pitching. I think having the pressure taken off the offense will help the offense produce better. But you're right. The outfield is a major issue when a middle infielder is your best outfielder.
Wait, you got two middle infielders playing in the outfield. And
they're both Gold Glovers, but
I mean, Donovan played in the outfield quite a bit. And then you've got
Edmund.
Sorry, it just slipped my mind. And Edmund just needs to be the shortstop and just go and figure out if you're going to have Gorman playing second base or if you're going to let somebody else who can actually field play second base. And then just move on from some of these other guys. Why are we so stuck on these guys and we let Randy Rosarina go?
I would really like to see, and we've said it, Goldie go, and then let Gorman play first base, and then let Donovan play second base. Figure out the outfield situation, get it better, get it right. Find a third one that can go play center field and let Nootbaar in left and Walker in right. But go find yourself 3 or 4 pitchers to fill rotation spots and bullpen spots.
Well, Langhauser says it's you got to get the 2 quality starters, set up man, and actual closer. We don't have an actual closer. I don't think Helsley's the answer at closer because he's always hurt.
Yeah,
he'd be a great closer for the hospital team, but he's not going to be a good closer in Major League Baseball. And for him to be aggravated at his role, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you healthy today? Did you got a broken nail? Is there a blister? Yeah, I mean, what's wrong? There's always something. So you can't depend on him. You got to get some guys who've been healthy. The injury risk stuff is, we all know, Zach has made mention of how terrible our training staff must be because these guys are always hurt, them and the Blues. But you got to get guys who are guys that are going to go out there and they're going to pitch. Nathan Eovaldi would have been a great pickup for us at his contract that he has with, what team? What teams he played for?
The Rangers.
The Rangers. Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler's a guy who's going to go ahead and eat innings. He's one of the better postseason pitchers there has been in the last 20 years by what he's been able to do. He would have been a good one. Why wouldn't we spend the money on it? It was a good deal. Aaron Nola is going to get so much more money this year. Zach Wheeler's contract is going to look like it came out of the bargain bin too. And so when you think about it too, whatever you're doing now for a pitcher, that you might not say is this, okay, we got to sign this guy. He's way up here. This other guy who's just a tad below, like a Zach Wheeler was, like a Nathan Eovaldi was, and you're like, man, that's a lot of money to give these guys. In 2 years, those contracts are going to look so good because everybody's contract just keeps going up. Scott Boras is just like, I'm going to push this rock up the hill, and you guys are just going to keep paying my dudes. And as he does that, and every other agent does that, everybody's making more money. So spend it now. Spend it. Because it's going to look really good in the long run if you do. It just really is. And if you overpay for average annual value, you can probably knock a year or two out of those contracts. So you're not hamstrung with a 10-year deal like the Pujols contract.
And Zach has said it before, with pitchers especially.
Yeah.
It's not about the amount of money, it's about the length of the deal.
Yeah.
With pitchers, you can go shorter. You're much better off overpaying on a shorter deal than trying to go longer to spread it out, because that's going to make it worse for a much longer.
I mean, let's think about it. You get a guy that you just said, a Snell. Say you get him on a 2-year deal. What are you going to have to pay for him?
Snell is not going to sign a 2-year deal.
Okay, give me whatever.
Saying 5-year deal. You could probably get a 5-year deal. I don't know what, 160.
Okay, 160 mil. Now you got all the beer smells. You got all the concessions. You got
beer just went up to $20 for a cup.
Seriously, you are.
It's a Shakespeare-sized cup, but by God, it's $20 you got to pay for Snell.
You will make that money back. The issue is, and I've said it since we've been doing the show, it's more about the profit margin than it actually is worried about the product on the field. So until you are willing to bring that profit margin down a little bit to say, you know what, hey, 10% of a World Series winner, when I'm going to make more money on the back end, when people buy jerseys, when people buy all the commemorative whatever shoe phones that Sports Illustrated used to have, like, we're going to make that money up on the back end, all the license, all the season tickets. I don't understand their philosophy, their business model on saying we want to keep it as cheap as possible. And whether that's cheap in the locker room or whether that's cheap again in the front office.
I think big part of this, they also have to figure out what this TV situation is going to be with Bally Sports being in bankruptcy. That's a big chunk of money that isn't coming their way that normally would be. What's that going to look like? Is it going to end up being like how the MLS did? Is Apple TV going to eat this up and you're going to have the MLB channel on Apple TV?
Well, right now, if I'm any streaming service, I'm going right after any of these teams that don't have TV deals, or I'm going to try to get the Major League Baseball. I mean, you want to talk about how many people have iPhones? A lot of people do. Well, you know what? We can give you a deal. You can get Apple TV for however many months. Now you get to see your favorite team play. Well, what an incentive for me to have Apple TV, right? So that streaming service is going to take this whole thing over. Mm-hmm. So why not jump on that boat? If I'm the Cardinals and I don't know about Bally, I'm gonna find Apple TV. I'm gonna find one of these streaming services. Hell, I'll go to Hulu. We'll do something, because then that way we can get that money. And there's a lot of money in the streaming services to get for these teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just what I think. But going back to the Cardinals, and we can sit here and wonder all day, 6 ways to Sunday. The bottom line is they're just not very good, and you have to have dudes that can play. They don't have those guys. They don't have a good enough pitching staff. They got a bunch of fours. I mean, that fours, maybe a 5 and a guy who shouldn't be playing. I mean, it's literally that.
The closest thing to not being a 4 is Michaelis.
Right. And he had such a bad year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bad year.
I said the closest thing to not being a 4.
And Matt started out playing terrible, like we should have DFA'd him. Then he started playing really, really well, and then he got hurt. So we don't know which Steven Matz is going to show up. Probably the one that's the emoji turd that Moreno put in the chat. That will probably be our luck. And then you've got, one of these other guys coming in, these younger guys. I don't see them going out and getting 3 guys because they're going to say they got starting pitching, and they don't.
We got to evaluate.
That's bad evaluation. Other teams don't want our guys.
We don't want to clog up something for Tink Hens. You don't want to clog up a slot in 2 years, and
that's the thing too. I mean, they said that same stuff about Jordan Walker and whoever else. Like, well, Walker's coming. Okay, what'd you do? You put him in the outfield. I'm surprised that Mason Wynn got called up. Mason Wynn should be the everyday shortstop, and then you have Edmund playing center field, and just get rid of those other guys. I mean, or you maximize on what Edmund, with the value of him as a switch hitter and a good fielder, and I go and find somebody better, or go get my pitching because I've got a shortstop now.
You got to get some pitching out of someone.
Mason Wynn is my shortstop.
Yes, Mason Wynn is the shortstop.
What does that look?
Either Gorman or
batting $112. He's not even batting his weight.
It's his first year.
Either Donovan or Edmund. There's only one spot on the roster for a guy like that. Which one?
I'm going to take Donovan because he can play more spots, and I have more cost control of him.
I think
Edmund's not a guy he's not going to hit 300. His LPS is not overly high. I'm going to go and take what I can get for him before I have to really pay him, and I can get some good value out of him because I'll have Donovan for another couple years before I have to do the same thing with him. And that'll give me time to maybe figure out the Goldschmidt, Gorman, whoever else that might be there to play. And then is Donovan still is he a utility guy? Because Edmund, in my opinion, Edmund is a great fielder. He's a utility hitter. That's what he is. He's not consistent enough. He's a guy, he's batting in the 9 hole, or we bat him first. Mm-hmm. There's no in between. He's not hitting anywhere else. He's a switch hitter, and if you have a good switch hitter hits where?
First.
First or second. No. All the time, because now he's on base. Mm-hmm. Again, I think old school hitting philosophy is not putting my best damn hitter, the guy, my RBI guy, in a 2 hole, which I think is the stupidest damn thing anybody ever does. We're getting more bats with nobody on base.
Right.
No crooked numbers. Cardinal baseball. Sorry. I could do this all day. It pisses me off. But I think out of the 2, I'm trading Edmund.
I'm with you on that one.
Just the value. Wait. Kevin agrees and Zach disagrees.
Zach's having a heart attack.
Are you okay over there, buddy?
Give me Tommy.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
I just think, I don't know. Eyeball test. Same reason why I would have been okay, and you're gonna laugh. I probably wouldn't have gotten rid of Wong. Again, you just said it. Nobody's hitting 300. Okay, so then I would have got rid of DeYoung a long time ago. Tommy would have been my shortstop.
Tommy should have been.
Wong would have been my second base. I would have had Gold Glove pretty much the entire infield. I could have, done whatever we wanted to with the outfield, and at least that's set.
We kind of had that 2 years ago with Arenado, Goldschmidt, Edmund, and then Donovan was the utility one, but he played most of the year at second base. We had that with Donovan and Edmund.
Yeah, and it was a lot better 2 years ago.
Well, the emphasis being on fundamentals at the time. Now, you also have to take into the fact that Arenado, not a Gold Glover this year, which that boo. And then Goldschmidt's obviously another year older. The problem is now the window's starting to close on these guys, and the value of their presence. I mean, when we got Goldschmidt's a Gold Glove first baseman. He's a guy who can rake. And when he's not as good in the field like he was, now he's got to be able to hit. So you need to decide, is Goldschmidt a guy that you just go ahead and say, you know what, just to keep him healthy and just to keep him in the lineup, we're just going to DH him and we'll let Donovan play first. I actually kind of like that.
I bring Walker down to first.
No, okay. After you spend him a whole year trying to teach him how to play right field and get better, now you're going to put him at first.
That would be the most Cardinal thing to do.
What's the living room scene from Moneyball It's like, tell them how easy it is to play first base.
It's extremely hard. We'll teach you how to play first base. Tell them it's extremely hard to play first base. Yeah, but again, I agree that. Why would I do that? Spend the whole year trying to do that, and then turn around and not play him there. Now you have no choice. He has to play in the outfield. Yes. He has to learn how to play it. In the event of an emergency situation, he can play third.
Well, that's why you put him at first, because you just said he has to learn how to play outfield.
Listen, you've told him in this offseason, somebody told him, you are now officially Jose Oquendo and Willie McGee's bitch this entire winter.
You said a bad word. Now we have the E.
We get two. That's
right. You get two.
Should have been anyway.
But
okay, but do you not see when Oquendo's like, I want nothing to do, I don't want to be around? Is that not a red flag?
He doesn't want to be around the coaching staff. That doesn't mean he doesn't want to be around the players. The players go to him. They still work with him. He does that. He does not want to be around the coaching staff. He does not want to be dragged down that black hole of crap in that instance. But he will stay in Florida his entire year and send players to him, and he will work with him.
Well,
all day long.
Wait a minute. If I get to live in Florida and work for the Cardinals, and they send guys to me to train, I have the greatest job ever. I have the Florida weather, and they're sending guys to me, and they're sending me a paycheck. Zach, are you out of your ever-loving mind? That is the best job. Oquendo's like, hey, I don't want to do this because I want to do that. That's what he wants to do.
I'm not going to go be in that St. Louis humidity all summer.
But Florida humidity is so much better.
It's a dry heat.
And there's beaches.
And there's
beaches.
I'm not going to be in the St. Louis heat without a beach, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
If I'm going to be in this heat, there's going to be beaches, there's going to be bikinis, there's going to be all kinds
toes in the water. Toes in the water, ass in the sand. That's exactly how. There's two. So if I'm Oquendo, that's exactly what I want to do. But going back to our bigger issue here with the team, the problem is they're just not any good, and they got to make decisions on these guys. They got to make decisions on the guys that they have.
Decision's easy. Get rid of all of them. That's what it sounds like.
Well,
if they're not any good,
a lot of them, yeah. Cross this guy off. That's exactly what they should be doing. Hey, I want to get rid of these guys. If they can't play, they got to go.
You just said old school baseball. Old school baseball is dead and gone. You've got 15 dudes in the professional Major League Baseball, professional, that's hitting 300 or better. Less than 20 dudes. Who are you getting to replace the guys that aren't hitting?
280 is the new 300.
I think that's all. I think that'll all start moving back as people. Well, because the shifts are gone, there's going to be. You saw more stolen bases, I think, that we have in the last few years. There's going to be a lot more emphasis on getting on base and putting those pitchers in a position where there's guys on it. That means I got to get a guy who's going to get on base, because then we can steal, because you only throw over 3 times. All right, the bases are bigger. Stolen base opportunities are there.
You don't even throw over anymore. It's just disengaging.
So why would I not want guys who get on base? Now it ends up being runner in scoring position, right? I mean, now we might actually go back to, having two decent guys who can get on base, 1 and 2, and then now we have the stud coming up. You go ahead and hit that pop fly out there, the warning track. You scored a run on a sac fly, RBI. It still gets guys. It still scores runs. So that kind of baseball might roll its way back around because of the way the rules are now.
Okay, but you are forgetting we have Pocketbook Mo. We've got computer. We got the computer guy in the other office, and it's all analytics. That they have not.
I agree with that.
They have not shifted their philosophy. Matter of fact, they fired a coach who was winning.
Yeah.
That didn't want to play calculator baseball.
Yeah, and you know what's happening now. You're seeing guys like Billy Beane is not winning in Oakland. Okay, so that's starting to that Moneyball thing is starting to come by the wayside. And you got guys like Atlanta's manager, I can't remember his name, who doesn't even understand what a hard hit ball rate is. And then you got Bochy, who's like, I don't give a shit about this stuff. We're just going to go out here and we're just going to hit. Okay. Those guys are starting to win now because they're putting guys in motion. They're stealing bases. Look what Acuna did. I mean, it's a perfect example. They got guys in Atlanta who can hit, who hit for average. Their on base percentage is high. They're drawing walks and they're stealing bases. Now they didn't get to the World Series, but then the Rangers are they're built to they hit. So at the end of the day,
look at their window. Their window for winning is way bigger than, insert such and such team.
And I like that young guy that we have in the minors who played at Peoria or whatever, who stole 92 bases.
Victor Scott.
That's
really made saves.
You ain't telling me that guy can't find a spot on the roster, because if he gets on, he's going to make a single into a double.
Got to bring him up. Got to start his clock.
Well, I agree with that. And you know what?
Play?
Yeah, you're not going to start his clock to be a pinch runner.
What position does he play?
He's a center fielder.
Hey, look, we need a center fielder maybe.
He barely hit. He stole 90 bases because he got on.
So
90
you already got
times.
Wynn, who's not hitting. Now you're not going to bring that guy up.
I'm just saying that there's going to be places for guys who can steal bases because of the way the rules are in Major League Baseball. And if once people start figuring it out, where, man, if I just hit and get on base, I can score runs instead of playing this whole true outcome baseball calculator bull crap. There's a way the game it'll rotate back around, because eventually everybody's going to be doing this thing, and I'm going to do this, and this is going to be successful, and everybody copies what we do, because that's what happened with Moneyball and analytics and all this stuff. I get it. There's a place for numbers in baseball, but by God, you can't manage the damn game doing it. You can't. Can't.
You can evaluate talent. You just can't match. You just can't manage games with it.
See, the other thing to me, though, I don't want to evaluate talent off of a calculator either, because again, I don't care about spin rate. I don't care about launch angle. The numbers that I want to look at, there's two numbers depending on if it's my leadoff guy, my number 2 guy, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's average and on base percentage. That's it. Yeah. Like, this is the only 2 numbers I care about. And then
you get on base.
3, 4, 5. Do you put the ball over the fence? Do you hit the ball hard? That's it.
Yeah, well,
that's it.
All I'm saying is you just use it as a tool towards evaluating.
Right.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Yep.
But
we could do this all day long, and
we've done it for an hour.
Yeah, 52 minutes. But anyway, the other guys couldn't make it on tonight, and don't worry, we'll have a full. Yeah, I know it was the X show again, redo. But basketball season being here, schedules for me and Jarvis, and now Jim with his being an assistant coach again. So we're all trying to figure all that out. But we'll be on. We'll still have shows, and we'll let you guys know when we're going to be having those shows. More than likely they'll be virtually, because I know when you're busy, it's nice when you're finally home from practice. It's like, well, here, I don't have to go anywhere.
How many years?
It's still this show. You've been having late practice, Zach. I don't have to worry about setting things up in other places.
Unless you finally just get to the hotel room and have dinner. I don't know.
Yeah, because you're big time.
Games have been done for a long, long time.
So. I know, right? What's anyway.
There were no games today.
Oh,
there weren't any.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, you gotta get all set up.
They were plugging stuff in. That's all they were doing.
Hey, when you're big time, you're rubbing elbows with the big wigs from Misha and everywhere else. Yeah. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Coach's Box. We will see you all next week. Have a good one.
episode of the Coach's Box Call It Like We See It podcast is brought to you by Off the Rails Media. Life's more fun when you're off the rails.